All right, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday. It's Friday once again. That means it is time for another episode of the Heat Check. That's right, the Heat Check live beat review show hosted right here on YouTube. I want to give a special shout out to all the producers who submitted their beats for this week's show. It is the holidays, and I'm grateful that you guys still were able to take the time to submit your beats for this week's show. So shout out to all the producers who submitted. And if this is your first time checking out this show, you might be wondering who I am and why I'm qualified to give this advice. Well, my name is Desmond A. I'm a producer based out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. I've been producing music for over 12 years now, really my whole life. I just say 12 years. Yes, and I have music with different recording artists, independent recording artists out here, different TV shows, E-Television, Bravo, Sci-Fi, a bunch of different stuff, music all over the world, and Soul Beast independent recording artist, done a little bit of everything. So I have a lot of perspective to give you guys value here at the Heat Check. I want to give a shout out to the chat. Looks like we got some people already here in the chat. We got Chef P, we got Cal. We got Cal in the chat as well. Everybody's ready for the show. So yes. Once again, if this is your first time checking out this show, I'm going to go ahead and give you the format. What happens is you go ahead and submit your beats after the live stream. You submit your beats. That's when the free submission forms open. That's when you go ahead and submit your beats. And that's the opening for next Friday's show. But if you join the live stream now, you can go ahead and purchase a VIP Skip the Line, and that's how you go ahead and get your beats right here on the show on the Heat Check. So free submissions are closed. But if you want to skip the line and get your music out there, then you can definitely get that VIP skip the line. Now, I also got a special announcement. If you haven't seen, I also have a new live stream coming. That's right, more value. I didn't want to wait until 2026. I just want to go ahead and give you guys the value right now. So tomorrow is going to be the premiere episode of the Real Spotlight Artist Showcase and Feedback Show. So please join me tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, where you can check out recording artists. So it's kind of like the Heat Check, except it's going to be for recording artists. So all the producers checking out this show, make sure you show up tomorrow so that way you can possibly find some music artists to collaborate with, to work on projects with. So my goal is just to add more value to the space, help everyone out, help everyone grow, and just connect the music game together. So make sure you check out the Real Spotlight tomorrow right here on this YouTube channel. So what's going on, Millie? We got Millie in the chat as well. What's going on? What's going on? So yes, that takes care of all the housekeeping. So let's go ahead and jump right here in FL Studio. All right. Let's see here. I have opportunity. Don't mind if I tell you. And let's go. Yes, you, Chef, you can go ahead and hit me up on Discord. So go ahead and DM me on Discord, and I'll be glad to check that out. So I definitely appreciate that. All right. So let me go ahead and put on my headphones here. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So our first submission of the day, we have DMG with BAP. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic, play this beat, and then go ahead and give my feedback. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Ladies and gentlemen, that was DMG with BAP. Thank you so much for submitting, DMG, right here on the Heat Check. Your music is always appreciated here. Now, DMG, for that beat, so I know what direction you were going for. You were going for that Neptunes 2000 kind of sound. Pharrell, kind of have a little bit of that Pharrell, Khalees type of vibe, type of aesthetic that you're going for. And you definitely did have the selection of the sounds correct. So you might have been using some type of Korg VST to kind of get those Korg Triton sounds in there. One point of feedback is you want to watch your volume balancing. Like when the drums came in, the snare was a bit loud. So one thing you may want to do is whenever you're listening back to your beats, listen to it at a low volume, then listen to it at a medium volume, They're listening to it at a loud, energized volume. And as you play it back at each volume levels, you want to make sure that everything still sounds balanced. Nothing feels off. What I like to do is I like to put myself in the headspace of a recording artist. So if I'm a recording artist and I'm in the booth and I'm about to record the song, let's say I'm talking to the engineer and the engineer has the beat dialed down and we're just talking to each other. I still want to be able to feel the music. I don't want something to be causing pain in my ear or anything like that. I'm not saying it's so loud it's going to cause pain, but we just need to balance it a bit more so that way it doesn't it's not so jarring and can kind of push people away from the music. We want music to pull us in. Other than that, even though I could tell the direction that you're going in musically, I feel like this beat, this is another type of beat that you may have to be in the studio or around a recording artist to really have them feel what's going on. They might not catch to it as easily. It's not just super available, super inviting. You may have to throw out a few ideas, mumble a few things, kind of put a few ideas out there. Maybe even put even scratch vocals on it. People criticize things like Suno and whatnot, but literally this idea just hit me while I'm talking. Let's say you put the beat in Suno, you just mumbled some stuff, came up with some lyrics, did some type of and added some type of cool voice to it that can help paint a picture, not an actual song to it, but mumbling to it. So they have an idea and it sounds musical at the same time. Like, okay, this is the idea I had. Dun, 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 dun. You could have the AI kind of make your voice sound melodic and auto-tuning just so they can have like an idea, a direction of what the actual final song would sound like. Because other than that, you may have to mute a few sounds for it to just be more inviting, but I think you may need to be in the studio to actually sell the idea to the artist in this case. So keep it up. It's an interesting style. I definitely hear producers getting back into the 2000 style, and it's pretty refreshing to me. So keep it up, DMG. Definitely appreciate that submission. All right, moving forward, we have DMG with 415. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and play this beat, mute my mic, and then go ahead and give my feedback. So let's take a listen. Ladies and gentlemen, that was DMG with 415. Shout out to you, DMG. Thank you so much for your submission. All right, now DMG, on that beat, I see that you have a style going. You have this consistent style going, which is good because this is something that you can really help. You can really market yourself as a person who has this 2000 style, If you go to BeatStars or you look up type beats, A lot of stuff is going to be, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but more safe. And this style of production isn't safe, which is a good thing because it's going to attract artists who are really trying to push the status, who are really trying to buck against the status quo. And that's really going to happen a lot moving forward, especially as AI gets better and better. People are going to be looking for like a counterculture type of thing. And the fact that you do have this real rugged, imperfect, kind of ugly, pretty type of aesthetic going on in your music, reminiscent of course, the Neptunes in the 2000s, you're really going to have certain artists who are going to want this style, who are going to want this sound because it's off the beaten path and it's not safe. With that being said, one thing you may want to do is listen to those 2000s style of production and also listen to how they're mixing things. Listen to how things are balanced. Listen to, how the kicks are hitting, where the snares are sitting, just not only just the aesthetic as far as the sound selection, but also listen to how the mix is going. So that way you have more of a blueprint on how to really, really take the 2000 style of production, all the way to the finish line. And also it's going to just help you in general with mixing. It's just referencing things. Of course, you don't have to hit the level of the top mixers like Dave Pensado. I believe Dave Pensado mixed a lot of those 2000s records. But of course, it's just help give yourself a blueprint on where you're trying to get to mix wise. So yeah, I would say keep working at it. Link up with some recording artists, but just know recording artists may not take to the sound so easily. You may need to push them and coach them into the actual song that you're looking to accomplish. So shout out to you, DMG. Thank you so much for submitting on the heat check. That's very, very appreciated. All right. So let's take a look here. Chef, what do you think about AI in the music industry? All right, Chef, that's a great question. I think AI in the music industry, I think AI is inevitable. More and more people are using it. I'm seeing more and more videos coming up. The thing is, the question that I have is how are people going to be using it? Are they going to try to use it to generate total songs and compositions and total instrumentals? Or are they going to use it to just do complementary things, like try to add certain parts? Let's say you're struggling with the hook. Let's say you're struggling with the bridge. Let's say you're struggling to add that one last thing to your beat, and you add this thing and now it's totally completed. So I think it's inevitable, but my question is, how are we going to be using it? And then how are we going to maintain the real human element and not just turn into programmers? And that's also part of the reason why I created the Real Spotlight Show, which is premiering tomorrow, is to make sure we have real human recording artists able to showcase themselves and promote themselves, and real humans can find it, click on their stuff, and then, purchase their music directly from real actual humans. So that's what I think about AI in the music industry. Great question. Please keep them coming. All right, moving forward to the next producer we have here. We have Bass Maker Productions with R&B Rainstorm. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play this beat, mute my mic, and then go ahead and give my feedback. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
I'ma hit you really hard with the bass. Hit you really hard with the bass.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Bassmaker Productions with R&B Rainstorm. Shout out to you, Bassmaker. Thank you for your submission. Your music is always appreciated here. Now, Bassmaker, first of all, great sample. I like the sample. Also, I like the energy of the drum beat. I like how your tag complemented what was coming next. Not sometimes some producers tags kind of take us away from the music, but your tag actually added to it. Um, that being said, I heard a couple things. The first thing I heard was it. It almost sounded like when I first. Let me, as a matter of fact, let me play that one more time. There's a certain part when it. Okay, so let me get back here. All right. Um, so there's something going on with the sample that's kind of throwing me off. I don't know if it's just, and I think I know what I think I've actually just figured out what it is. It's almost like the question is this a beat just for like my enjoyment, just to kind of cruise around, bop my head to, and just kind of, it's just a cool instrumental to vibe to. Because if this is a beat for a recording artist, just it feels like that sample might kind of get in the way a little bit. You might want to try doing a little bit of a low pass filter on it, just so that way the recording artist's voice can fit on top of it and they don't feel like they're actually competing with something. Also, when I was listening to the beat again, it's like something's going on with the drum pattern. It's like one of the kicks is off. It almost sounds like there's some type of like phase cancellation, like two kicks are going at once. I don't quite know what that was. It could either be like a kick was unquantized or something is going on rhythmically with those kicks, and at a certain point it sounds off. I'm not quite sure what it is, but that kind of threw me out of the groove. Um, Other than that, I think this beat has potential. And just we need to tighten up those things to really pull us into the music. That's the thing I always mention here on the heat check. We want music to pull us in. We don't really want any elements to push us away. And I feel like there's something going on with the sample that's pushing me away, and there's definitely something going on with those kicks. Some certain part of those kicks is pushing me away from the music. So once you tighten that up, tighten the groove of the kicks up, tighten this mix of the sample up, I think that's gonna really push things all the way to the finish line. But it just needs to be tweaked there, and once we do that, I think we're good to go. So shout out to you, Bassmaker. Definitely appreciate that beat. Please continue to submit right here on the heat check. All right, moving forward, next submission of the night, we have Kuma. Looks like Kuma does not have a name here, so we just say Kuma Untitled. Let's see here. Looks like it's not very long. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is Kuma with Untitled. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this beat. Whoa, ayo, play this beat, mute my mic, and then give my feedback. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Kuma with the super short submission. Kuma, I believe more than likely, it looks like some type of exporting issue you had going on. Maybe you're using some type of mobile DAW, something like that, that's caused your music to just export very short. Looks like your other submission here is short as well. This one's called Ho Yeah. I'm gonna play this. Okay, so we're starting off, but if I can get for you to export your music properly, then we'll be good to go. So I can actually give you a proper review. So once again, looks like some type of export issue for you, Kuma. So please export again and submit for next week's show. All right, moving forward, we have Purple Prosperity with Heraldos Horns. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play this beat, mute my mic, and then go ahead and give my feedback. So let's go ahead and take a listen. All right. Shout out to Purple Prosperity. Thank you so much for your submission. All right. Now, Purple Prosperity. First thing I noticed about that beat was that stock piano sound you have. It sounds stock. The piano just sounds like it doesn't have very much depth, very much detail to it, and it just feels like straight out of whatever DAW you have there. So if I can get for you to try to get a better piano VST going, I found one, because I know pianos are one thing that kind of keep popping up here on the heat check, and you guys are always looking for a free one. I had one here called Grand Piano. Ooh, hopefully it doesn't crash, because it's crashed on me before. Hopefully. All right, there we go. So Idolatry Grand Piano. Let's see here. So this one sounds okay. You can hear a little bit of the hammer sound in there. You know, kind of gives it a realistic feel. Just kind of play around with some of the parameters here to just try to get it sound as good as possible. So it's a free piano. Once again, it's called Grand Piano by Audiolatry, like idolatry, Audiolatry. So you guys can just Google that piano. So you don't always have that super stock sound. So that's not exactly a contact piano, but it is better than stock, and you guys can tweak around with it. And once again, like I mentioned, it has crashed on me before, so might just be my computer, some of my folders and things like that. So you guys go ahead and test that one out for yourself and see what kind of results that you get. Oh, so yeah, first point was the stock piano. Another point, as we were transitioning from the intro, you had this pad going, and the pad had like almost like a droplet sound on it. And that pad with the little droplet sounds, those little droplets of the pad were off rhythm, and it kind of threw me out of the vibe. So let's watch that whenever you're adding pads and things like that. Make sure it's still rhythmically pleasing to the ear. So you want to watch that. Also those that synth sound that you had going on, that was just a bit too much. If you could dial that back, that's gonna help things feel more balanced. We want things to be almost like a movie. We're grooving into it, so we don't want to be like shocked or pushed away from everything. And then another point on that beat is also one of the things the same thing I had with some of the or one of the other submissions here today, and that was really structure. You know, is this a beat just a vibe out to? Maybe you're just gonna put it on YouTube. You know, some people like instrumentals. I remember back in the day, I had instrumentals on SoundCloud. These people didn't even make music at all. People were like, hey, man, I just listen to your music at the office. So, you know, if that's the case, then you don't have to really have too much of a specific structure. But if you want this to be for like a recording artist, then you want to structure things as far as the hook, the intro, the verses, and this kind of felt more like a free flow, freestyle, maybe something for like a longer YouTube instrumental project or SoundCloud instrumental project or something like that. So kind of want to figure out structure if this is for the purposes for an artist. If not, then you can free flow and just be creative as far as structure goes. But thank you so much for your submission. It's definitely appreciated. And please continue to submit right here on the Heat Check. All right. Got another question here. Let's see here. Big Boy Daddy. No, the free submissions are closed. If you do want to submit, then you can go to, it's going to be in the description. It's DesmondASounds.com/VIP. If you want to do the VIP skip the line. If you don't want to do the VIP skip the line, then you can wait until this show is over. That's when the form opens for next Friday's show. So it's a relatively short show this week. But if you do want to show support and also get your music played, then you could definitely go to the VIP skip the line, DesmondASounds.com/VIP. But either way, I'll be definitely glad to check out your instrumentals, Big Boy Daddy. Shout out to you. All right, next question. How long have I been on my YouTube journey? I have been on my YouTube journey now. It is coming on a year. So I have been working at YouTube for a year now, and it has been a lot of work. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make a video giving you guys a whole bunch of tips. I know a lot of producers out there, you want to get on camera, but you're nervous. I've spoken to someone specifically in my Discord about creating a YouTube channel. He's a very talented musician, and I think he needs to create content. He hasn't yet, but I'm pushing him to. But yeah, it has been right on a year now, and I'm coming up on 1,000 subscribers, man, and it is very much appreciated. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding. So yes, almost a year now, and I've learned a lot on the way. So stay tuned for that video. I'm gonna do it after I cross 1,000 subs, in that range. Before I get too far past 1,000 subs, I'm gonna do that 10 things I've learned since reaching 1,000 subscribers. So yes, it has been a year now. All right, moving forward, we have JVN World with Ultimate. All right, excuse me. Let's go ahead and take a listen to JVN World Ultimate. I'm gonna go ahead and mute my mic, play this beat, and then go ahead and give my feedback. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Ladies and gentlemen, that was JVN World with Ultimate. Shout out to you, JVN World. Appreciate your submission. Your music is always welcomed here. All right, so JVN World. One thing with that beat is, so let me first start by saying this. Oh, shout out to you, Big Boy Daddy. Thank you so much for getting the VIP Skip the Line. Let me go ahead and complete JVN World, and then you are right up next. All right. So, JVN World, that beat, you have this thing about your production, JVN World, where you know how to make beats that are going to be easy to write to, in the sense that an artist is going to know how to make it their own. So it's not like I'm instantly going to make a club banger. I'm instantly going to make a trap song. I'm instantly going to make an R&B song. Your style of production is more like a nice blank canvas, and that's going to work well for you. Because producers have a habit of doing too much. Now, one thing is that string pad that you added really threw off the vibe of the music. You had a nice little bounce going. You add that string pad, and it was almost like the key wasn't really correct. It's like it. I won't say the key. It's just like the vibe of it just threw it off. So one thing I want you to do, JVN World, is make sure that you're rapping or you're singing to the music, even if you're just mumbling a hook. So that way you can see if you actually have space to fit your voice on the beat. If you can fit your voice on the beat, then the artist can fit their voice on the beat. So make sure you do that. And even myself, I was working on a beat today. I was like, how am I going to structure this? I had to sing to myself. It was an R&B beat. And then I noticed that I was doing too much in the hook. So even me, I still have to do that. And that's why I always give that piece of advice to you guys. So JVN World, watch that pad sound, and also kind of watch your volume balancing, watch your mixing. So that way everything is going to be more balanced. So kind of listen to mixes out there, A and B it against yours, then make sure that everything is locked in. So just watch a couple of those things, but you're on the right path to really creating your own sound. So shout out to you, JVN World. All right. What's going on? I believe that is DMG in the chat, if I'm correct. Shout out to you, DMG. And let me get to Big Boy Daddy. So we got a VIP Skip the Line here. Let me go ahead and pull up Big Boy Daddy's instrumental. Let's go ahead and do that right now. And while I'm doing that, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you check out my Made in the Studio podcast. If you have not seen the episodes, it's a lot of great value in there. I got musicians, I got loop makers, I got Grammy nominated multi-platinum cats in there. So make sure you check that out. And you're going to get a lot of good game. I literally had people hitting me up about how much good game some of those episodes were. So make sure you guys check that out. Made in the Studio podcast. And if I didn't mention, it is right here on the YouTube channel. You just click on the podcast tab. So that's how you go ahead and check that out. All right. So let's go ahead and pull up the VIP Skip the Line right here. All right. And then we're just going to do that right there. All right. Let's get you locked in. Put some respect on your name. All right. Isaac J. All right. And also, guys, while I'm getting this prepped, make sure you go to DesmondASounds.com where you can get free loops, free FL Studio patcher plugins, and free guides to help you on your music production journey. All right. Now I got you all locked in. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a VIP Skip the Line. We have Isaac J. Shout out to Isaac J. We have his instrumental here called Still Here. So we're going to go ahead and play this beat, play the whole thing since it's a VIP skip the line, then go ahead and give my feedback. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our VIP Skip the Line first submission from Isaac J. That one was called Still Here. So shout out to you, Isaac J. And thank you so much for your submission. I'm a fan of R&B, so thank you for bringing in the R&B vibes to this stream. Good beat. You definitely know what you're doing production-wise. There was just a couple things, just a little couple things mix wise. Almost felt like there were certain parts with your bass that you had going there, boom, 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 boom. Almost felt like at certain parts it could have just been compressed a little bit more, just to, if I felt like a little volume skip. It's not gonna run away a recording artist, of course not. It's kind of a little tweak that I'm hearing there. Also, one thing, especially when you guys are using a lot of these wide elements with like the guitars and the samples and things like that. Let me show you something here. And Isaac, you may already be familiar with this, and that is, let me make sure I have it here. Please don't freeze. All right, here we go. And one thing is just mid-side EQ. I don't really see too many producers use it or even talk about it. So if you're using a lot of those stereo sounds and samples and things like that, one thing you could do with the mid-side EQ, and this has helped me a lot, especially with getting clarity in some of my mixes, is using mid-side EQ to tighten up certain elements, especially when you have really wide sounds. For example, this might not sound right, but let's just give this a try. So let's go ahead and play this. Play it right here. So right there, I'm soloing the mid information. So right now we're just listening to the mid information, the mid sound, the mid signal. So this is just like right there, just straight up and down mono signal. That's the mid. And now let me solo the side information. So let me go and just play it. So that's just soloing the side information. That's I almost like to think of side information. It's probably not science, super correct by the textbook, whatever. But I like to think of side information almost like stereo, almost like when you pull your headphone jack out a little bit, you hear that all that side information, and you're just like, oh, I need to put my headphone in all the way so I can hear everything correctly. So I'm just soloing the side information. So one thing you could do is while you're working on your tracks, it's like if you hear things start to sound kind of mushy with the side information, one thing I like to do is I like to just shelf off a little bit. Not gonna be really good because I have everything going at once. I don't have your stems, but that's just a little tip. If you have a lot of like samples and guitars and things like that, don't be afraid to use a mid-side EQ to just do some shelving on at least some of the elements, so that way there's like more separation between things, between the instruments. So hopefully that makes sense. Yes, shout out to you, Chef. So yes, mid-side EQ. You don't have to, and I don't take it super far in this beat making process with the mid-side EQ. It's just, I think, okay, do I have a pad going on? Do I have guitars going on? Do I have a sample going on? Is it all kind of on the drifting in the sky and things like that? Is it real soft? And if I use a mid-side EQ, it just helps with like separation, and it just helps to make things feel more layered. So, definitely not something you have to do, but it's just something that I think helps. So that's definitely not, once again, that's not going to scare, as is, it's not going to scare off a recording artist. An artist is going to know how to write to it. I was mumbling to it, making sure I could write to it. So yeah, just want to give you some constructive feedback, especially since you did the VIP skip the line. Just want to give a few tidbits there. So shout out to you, Isaac. You are very much welcome. All right, so now second submission of the day, we have Isaac J. This one's called Change. Second VIP skip the line. Let's go ahead and mute my mic and then give my feedback. So let's take a listen. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the second VIP Skip the Line submission from Isaac J. That one was called Changed. All right, shout out to you, Isaac J. All right, now, for that beat, good beat. I can definitely tell you've been producing for a while. This is not something that you're new to. You definitely know how to make some. You definitely know how to make some beats. One thing that I noticed in that beat, I noticed that you, and I'm glad that you're using panning, but it felt like one side the panning was going on just a little bit too much with the drums. I felt like you had like the open hat going, then you had those like those snares going. So if you're doing panning, you can also like automate your panning, so you could have the snare going one here. Let me how do I do it? Let me just move this out the way. So hopefully my hard drive is working. All right, there we go. So let me pull up a snare. Okay, so you had your snares going. So you have like one like here. Let me just do it. I'm just gonna, it's not gonna be exactly. I just wanna hurry up and make the example. There we go. Okay. All right, we're just gonna have to leave it like that. So you can have your snare, you can have one snare here. We can just pan one here on the left. Then you can have the other two go here on the other speaker. On the other side. So you could do your panning like that, just so one side doesn't feel like a little heavily weighted on the instrumentals with the instruments with the drums. Real simple tweak. It's just gonna make the beat feel a little bit wider and not like it's like weighing a little bit heavier on one side. It's not really super important. It's just like something I was hearing, but that's also just gonna make your beat feel a little bit wider and not so heavy on one side. Other than that, that main guitar that you have in the beat, I think it works, but if you have other guitar patches in your VST, just test it out. Just test out. You know, fortunately, we're in the day of the DAW where we could just cycle through different patches and then see what we like. So if I can get for you to just click through a couple of different ones and see if you can find a different guitar patch that feels a little bit better. This works. You can still send this out to artists. This can still be a big song. I'm just saying, just see if you can find a different guitar patch. I'm thinking this one kind of had a little bit of like a Asian kind of vibe to it. Let's see if we can get like a real strummy, like a real authentic acoustic guitar sound on this one. This is not like a country trap type of beat, but country trap is kind of the new wave. So you could catch an artist with that real guitar, acoustic guitar sound, and that could really catch them. Do I have any feedback on the mix levels? That's part of the reason why I did mention the guitar, is because it did feel a little bit, it felt a little bit pushed forward as well. It felt a little bit forward, so you could pull that down a little bit, maybe pull it down by, let's just say 1.2 dB, negative 1.2 dB, and then see if you can feel a little bit more breathing room. See if it feels a little bit more open for a recording artist's voice to fit on it. So you pull it down like 1.2 dB, negative 1.2 dB, and see if it feels better. But other than that, you had everything going right, and then just do that panning thing that I mentioned, and you'll be good to go. Now, this is the biggest feedback, the biggest thing that's going to help you out. Please, Isaac, find a songwriter who can create a hook to this. You know, I was coming up with all kinds of different ideas, all kinds of different melodies. I was coming up with all kinds of different harmonies. You know, this had like a real nice emotional vibe to it. So I don't care if you have to get on Instagram. I don't care if you have to get on YouTube. Please please find a recording artist, a songwriter, excuse me, who can actually create a hook to this, a nice emotional hook. Make sure the hook is adding to the emotion of this beat, and then that's going to take you far. So please, definitely, please find a hook writer, and that's going to make this from a beat to a song that artists are going to, you can even have somebody do like a what's his name? Shabuzi, like a country type hook, you know, if you want to go into the, you kind of want to bait people in, you can have like a country trap singer, like the whole auto-tune country thing. So, you know, there you go. So shout out to you, Isaac J. Thank you so much for submitting right here on the Heat Check, and please find a songwriter to get on the hook because it's gonna take you very far. All right. So let's see here. That was kind of, I want to make sure melody too. Okay, shout out to you. Let's see. Yeah, man, it makes pretty hard to find people though. Yeah, you know, you said it's pretty hard to find people, man. That's true. It is pretty hard to find people because it's that balance between talent and, you know, consistency and trustworthiness. So, you know, you just gotta hunt. So look around, go out there, and just know some people might leave you on red, but then some people might hit you back. So it's definitely almost like sales. You got to go out there, keep talking to leads, and eventually the right one will connect with you. All right, let's see here. All right, we got Millie here. How to tell when an 808 is out of key, because in the beats I sent, I put some 808s. I don't know if they're out of key. All right, Millie, I believe you are next, Millie. All right, so let's see here. We just played JVN, so next is Millie. All right. So, Millie, I'm going to go ahead and play your beats, and you mentioned your 808, so I'm going to let you know if they're out of key. So, Millie, one way to know if your 808s are out of key is it's easy to tell if an 808 is in key or out of key if you pitch it up an octave. Like, it's easy to hear if a bell is out of key. It's easy to hear if a piano note is out of key. And that's because it's in a higher frequency range. So the human ear can pick up higher frequency sounds better. We're sharper on that. If you're going for a walk, you can hear like a squirrel running by much easier than you can the lyrics to the song the person in the car is playing with the bass bumping. You can't really hear the words, but you can hear the squirrel, and that's because our ears are sharper. They've adapted to hear that. So one thing you want to do is push it up an octave, push it up high, make sure it sounds like a bell, and then you can get it in key. It's much easier to do it that way. I might do an example for you as well, Millie. So let's go ahead and take a listen to your beat. Then I'm going to go ahead and give you my feedback. So let's take a listen. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, that was Millie Beats with Cold Blocks. Shout out to you, Millie Beats, and thank you so much for submitting on the heat check. Now, Millie Beats, we were talking about 808s and getting 808s in key. Now, I just remembered you're using FL Studio Mobile. Now, what kind of headphones are you using for your beats? Are you using like AirPods? Are you using like little headphones that you just put into your like regular little headphones you can get at the gas station and things like that? The in-ear ones, are they like quality in-ear ones that you can get at like Best Buy or Walmart? Like, let me know, Millie. Another thing you could do, and I actually just thought about this, especially if you have little speakers or JBL 520. JBL 520. Let me see what that is. What is JBL 520? Let me Google that real quick. JBL 520. Okay. JBL 520. Oh, the Bluetooth headphones. Okay. Because we have a JBL Party Box and you have the JBL headphones. Okay, so here's another thing you could do, Millie. Here's another thing you could do. So I was speaking about the human ear and how we hear higher frequencies easier. And one thing I noticed is that your Moog bass, that you, of course, you're very familiar with West Coast music, your Moog bass was in key. So you instantly know how to get the Moog bass in key to the rest of the music, but it's just the 808s. So here's another thing you can do. Let me pull up this. All right. Pull up this 808 here. All right. Let's play this 808. Can you guys hear that? Let me make sure I'm patched in. Okay. So here's another thing you could do, Millie. I see those headphones. You should be able to hear the bass, especially if you have it up here instead of down here. It's easier to hear that. Another thing you could do is you can use something, and I'm sure FL Studio Mobile has this, is the distortion. So when I add the distortion to it, you can hear more of the harmonics of the 808. Because I noticed that your 808 was real subby. It didn't really have much anything going in the harmonics, like the upper harmonics. It just was like a nice round classic hip hop sub bass. But if you add something like that instead of, you hear with that distortion, you could just hear the key of it much sharper. It's easier to perceive the key when we have that distortion on there. So that's another thing you could do, along with, of course, pushing it up an octave, adding that distortion just to make sure you lock it in key. Don't leave it in. Just make sure you lock it in key, and then you can put it at the right key, and then also, dial back the distortion or totally take off the distortion. That's part of the reason why we have all the distortion in these modern 808s. Different listening devices is dictating a lot. Sometimes I use it on the tuner. It tells me the note is. Okay. Using the tuner, I really want you to just try to do it by ear as opposed to using a tuner. And almost don't want to say why. Well, I'll go ahead and say why. This is something for you later down the line after you really lock in getting your 808s in key, is that sometimes you can make things out of key to create tension, and you can make things, like I mentioned earlier, one of the submissions, a ugly pretty decision in music, especially in hip hop and things like that. So I don't want you to get too dependent on that tuner. I really want you to be able to lock in the 808 by, making it higher, pushing it up to the higher octaves, then pushing it down, making sure it feels right. Then also you can use that distortion to make sure it's in key. It fits the music whenever you push it back down. So I don't want you guys to get dependent on that tuner. Thank you so much, Chef. Thank you so much, Chef. So if he explains to tell if your A was in key. Oh, okay. So someone made a video to see if your 808's in key. Okay. I really don't know how I feel about that, man. But yeah. Okay. So let me get back to your overall feedback, Millie Beats. We just spend a lot of time on 808s, but it's super important. 808s is important. I may need to make a whole video on just 808s, So yeah, Millie Beats, your overall feedback on that beat. One thing with that beat is things felt a little bit stiff in the beat. Like, I like the bounce of the drums a little bit, but it's just, I wanted a little bit more movement. It just felt like straight, right on the grid, everything perfectly lined up in the piano roll. It didn't have like too much swagger to it. So if you could listen back to that beat, see what else you can add, possibly do. Maybe it's just moving a sound, slipping a sound slightly off the grid, slipping a drum slightly off the grid. I just want more movement, more feeling. Things felt very, okay, it's right there, that's right there, that's right there, perfect. So I want a little bit more swagger to that beat. So shout out to you, Millie. And I believe you have another submission here tonight, one called Holy Bricks. All right. So we're going to go ahead and play Holy Bricks by Millie Beats. I'll mute my mic, play this beat, and then go ahead and give my feedback. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Millie Beats with Holy Bricks. Shout out to you, Millie Beats. Now, Millie Beats, that beat, I noticed that you're always able to get your Moog bass perfect. You can get your Moog bass perfect, but the 808, you're trying to dial it in just right. So once again, it tells me that you know what you're looking for. You're just having a hard time catching it. So you know how to do it, because usually when people musically don't understand when things are correct, there's going to be a lot of other places. I did hear one sound in there that sounded really weird and off key. It's just like, it was almost like a hit that you added somewhere in there, kind of threw me off. But the rest of your instrumentation, you know how to put it together. So with the 808s, once again, try those techniques that I gave you, and I think it's going to be much easier to know where to put things. If you know where to put the Moog bass, you're going to know where to put the 808s. You can hear it. Other than that, once again, it's kind of challenging for me because I want you to have better sound selection, and due to the fact that you're on FL Studio Mobile, there's only so much you could do. I definitely do appreciate the fact that you are cooking up on FL Studio Mobile. You know, where there's a will, there's a way. I remember there was a time during the pandemic where all I had was a really old, super old laptop, and I was cooking up beats on there. So where there's a will, there's a way, because I dealt with a lot. So shout out to you, Millie Beats, for continuing to cook up. I just, whenever you're able to get a laptop, I want you to work on getting higher quality sounds. And then some of those drum sounds, I feel like we can get better drum sounds with that beat. Other than that, you know, keep developing that West Coast sounds that you got going on. If you do listen to artists like YG, like, listen really, really intently to the production. You know, listen to how things feel. Listen to where things are sitting. You know what I mean? So listen critically whenever you're listening to those West Coast beats. Even if I recommend having the instrumental and not having the vocalist on there, because those vocals can really distract you with all the effects, all the tricks and stuff, all that the engineer does. It can make it difficult to really hone in on the ingredients of the beat, and that's what you really need to focus in on. So definitely, please, you know, don't always just cook up your own beats. Also listen critically to those YG beats, other West Coast classics. And, you know, I listen to some of Dr. Dre's stuff, even like the older stuff, just to listen to all his panning, how Dr. Dre just created panning and dimension with stuff. So, you know, we don't always have to listen to music just for enjoyment. We can listen for what makes it feel so great. So shout out to you. Shout out to you, Millie Beats. Let's see here. My beats are lifeless. Here's our tuner. Keep it sure. So maybe that's a good point, Chef. Chef made a good point. Not every 808 is in C. That is very true. That is very true. I have my keyboard here. So I don't know if I plugged it in all the way. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. It's plugged in. Ah, crap. I didn't. Wait. No, I got it plugged in. Oh, okay. I do have it plugged in. So, let's see here. Let's see if I can find a part. You hear that? So that was relatively easy for me to find, but I still start from the higher keys and then I go down my keyboard. And I know a lot of you guys are clicking into the FL Studio piano roll, but I still start in a higher key and then I go down further to find make sure the 808 is in key. And I want to say that one of my guests on my podcast, Made in the Studio, I want to say OG the 3, he's produced for pretty much everybody in the game. I want to say he still does that. I want to say he does. He's a real touring keyboard musician and everything like that. I want to say he still does that himself. I'm not sure. I don't want to put that on his name. So shout out to him. Shout out to him. And shout out to you, Millie. Thank you so much for your submission. We'll be glad to help you and continue to help you on your music production journey. All right. Moving forward, we have KX9 with Heat Check Beat. All right. So KX9 decided to name his beat after the show. I definitely appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and play this beat, mute my mic, and give my feedback. You are very welcome, Millie Beats. You are very welcome. So let's take a listen to this beat. Ladies and gentlemen, that was KX9 with Heat Check Beat. So I definitely appreciate that custom beat title. So shout out to you, KX9. Now, KX9, the first thing I noticed about the beat was that it's almost like there was a lot going on. My ears were searching for a central point to focus on. And I'm mostly speaking about the instruments that you had going. It almost felt like it was going in two different directions. Well, I won't say it was going in two different directions. It was just too much going on. So it's like I like the feel, but I needed things to be more simple because my ear was like, okay, there's a lot going on. I don't quite know where to focus on. Do I focus on this sound or do I focus on this sound? And once again, I'm talking about the instrumentation. So if you can dial back some of that busyness that's going on, so that way it's just not too much. We're not overstimulated with too many things going on. Simplify it. Let us feel the energy. Let us feel a central main character. Who's the Tom Cruise? Who's the Denzel Washington? Who's the Leonardo DiCaprio of this story? And it's almost like there's a Leonardo DiCaprio and a Denzel Washington at the same time. It's like, where do we focus on? Which one am I supposed to be looking at? So if I can get you to, once again, simplify it, just the instrumentation, simplify it more so we can really lock in and get pulled into the music. I really want to say that's really the main point of feedback I had on that. Just the busyness, and it also started to clutter the mix as well. So work on like just simplifying it, because there's a lot of good elements in there that I like. It's just that so much was happening at once. So sometimes as producers, we can kind of get into the creator mode so much, and we have so many different tools at our disposal that we can forget that there's a user experience, there's a customer experience, there's a listener experience. So sometimes we need to take off that creator hat and put on that fan hat, and then just kind of take a step back and listen and see if we like what we're hearing. You know, I was working on an R&B beat not too long ago, and I just put myself in the position of a recording artist who just went through something, who just wants a beat to express themselves. You know, I'm not adding all kinds of crazy leads, even though I want to. I'm super tempted to. I'm not adding a super complex bass line. I'm just creating a backdrop for that person to express themselves. And a lot of times, something I've been doing is to take off that creator hat after we get to a certain point, and then put on that fan hat, put on that customer hat, and then listen and say, okay, this is too much. Okay, this is taking me out of the music. okay, this sounds really good. You know, so hopefully that made sense. We just need to simplify things and make sure things aren't as cluttered. So if I can get you to do that, you'll be good to go. That's going to tighten up the mix as well. It's just a lot going on. So, all right. And it looks like that is our last submission for the heat check. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to you guys. Okay, we got KX9 in the chat. Sometimes I want to get all these ideas there. Man, yeah, KX9, I'm telling you, I hear you. I got this keyboard right here. I was making a nice R&B beat, and I just want to go Teddy Riley. I just want to go crazy on it. But when I put myself in that fan position, the songwriter position, who just got their heart broken, who just got an argument, it was just too much. It was too much, you know? And it's like, I want to hear me go crazy. I want to hear me go Teddy Riley on this beat, but it's just flexing for other producers and my own ego. So it's a challenging thing. It's always a work in progress. So none of us are perfect. We just work on it little by little, a day at a time. So yeah. Oh, shout out to you, Chef. Thank you so much for that, W Stream. All right, speaking of W Stream, tomorrow is the premiere of The Real Spotlight. That's my new show here on YouTube for recording artists. This one is for producers. The other one's for recording artists. So make sure you check it out tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on my YouTube channel, Desmond A Sounds. Of course, next Friday, we're going to have another heat check as usual. So stay tuned. I'm going to make a post, open up the form so you guys can submit for next Friday's show. Once again, check out The Real Spotlight. You guys always mention songwriters. You never know. You might hear an artist who's a singer, or on the hook of one of the submissions, there could be a singer. You could reach out to the artist. Yo, I heard that. Who is that singer right there? Who wrote that hook? Bam, y'all just made a connection through my stream. So I'm here to give you guys value, help you out in ways, you know what I'm saying, that was challenging for me to get. Had to spend a lot of money to get with different engineers and things like that to get a lot of gems and whatnot, because we didn't have YouTube back in the day. So thank you so much, KX9. Thank you so much, Chef. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat. So once again, tomorrow, check out the stream. About to make the community post to submit for next Friday's Heat Check show. Thank you guys so much for checking me out. Y'all stay safe, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then next week for the Heat Check. Y'all stay safe, guys. See y'all later.